I will teach you a simple chess strategy you can use to win so many more chess games. I will demonstrate this by playing a game with my rating client account. We are about 1550 rating. So the strategy I will teach you is called CCTO. So this is a variation on the more famous strategy CCT, checks, captures, threats, where we add the extra step of optimization. I will be playing the Pegasus system, my own opening system, which you can always check out if you are interested, but you can use this CCTO strategy with every single opening. It doesn't really matter which opening you play, but I do always recommend to play something solid, safe, just develop some pieces, put some pawns in the center, and then castle. That's just the basis of our opening. So CCTO basically means that we always calculate first if there are any checks in the position, then we calculate if there are any captures, any threats, and if we don't find anything that really helps us, we are always going to play a move which slightly optimizes the position. For example, this was an optimization move where I just increase my power over the center, also make sure that this knight cannot attack my bishop. So that is just a strategy that I use most of the time, and even if you just use this strategy without really studying any opening theory, you will be able to reach 1500 and even higher. So here there are no checks, but we do have a capture, which is just simply this capture. But if it's a capture that doesn't really achieve anything, which is the case, I think here, then we won't play it. Instead, I do see a threat. This is a threat because we are immediately threatening to win this knight, and the knight doesn't really have that many great squares. So yeah, they just have to go back, and we are grabbing a little bit more space. I will play this move as well. It's also just a simple threat, attack the bishop, but if they exchange, I'm always happy. They got rid of their own bishop, I get my knight to a better square, because this knight is always my supporting piece, but in this specific opening, it's not really doing that much, so it's better to get it here. Okay, but they don't take. So we don't have checks, captures, or threats. So that means it is time to slightly optimize. And optimize means mostly improving pieces, sometimes a pawn move. So this bishop should develop somewhere, and this knight is currently blocking it. So that is what I am thinking about right now. And this knight can move to b3. So that's a potential move. We do have to watch out we don't just get pinned on that diagonal. The other plan I could do, which is what I am going to choose to play here, is just to play my bishop to the b2 square if necessary. And also, of course, if my camera doesn't turn dark all of the time. All right, so we are going to develop the bishop this way. I think it makes sense to put it here because then we will have pressure in the future on that square. Okay. That's fine, and I'm going to play this. So we have somewhat improved the bishop. It's a little bit more active now. It is aiming at this pawn. So that is what I'm doing here still. I don't think we will have any checks or captures or threats soon, so it's just about optimizing pieces. What I'm going to look for now is probably to try to play f4, because if I can play f4, I can attack this, and I already have some pieces that are working together. And then maybe I can also push the other pawn in the future as well, this e4 pawn to e5. So I think that is one of the first strategies that we can go for here. To do that, I will need to move this knight somewhere. I'm not really sure. Maybe I actually even go here, or maybe to e1. E1 makes a lot of sense as well. And then I can, even in the future, put it on the d3 square, where it will also influence that. But the biggest plan, I think, here for white is to further optimize by playing pawn to f4. But let's see what my opponent is doing, because we still have to pay a little bit of attention to what they are doing as well. Okay, so he is trying to get a knight to the f4 square, which is also an optimization strategy. And then he can take my bishop, which doesn't matter because this bishop is my worst piece, basically. The only thing I have to watch out for is that I can still play my strategy. And if he has the knight there, that will be more difficult. But I think we are fine. I'm going to start with this move, as I said, to prepare potentially for f4. And I'm just going to see what he plays. He might put the knight here on f4 first, but that is fine. If he takes the bishop, I get this piece over there. I will actually even use my king, I think, here. I think it makes sense to use the king so we can play this potentially in the future. And also this frees up 2 pawns that I can start using. So I'm just looking for optimization. If he trades this, then he doesn't really know anything about positional chess, because that is a quite terrible bishop. And yeah, I would be happy to get a knight in exchange for that. This doesn't work, I think, because they would take that. So that is something to keep in mind. I'm just going to be doing some maneuvering. Yeah, this is a slow position, right? This is a position that is completely closed, so we have a lot of time for slow maneuvering moves. Like, for example, playing the knight back here, then pushing the pawn, which is going to support as well. It's a bit of a different type of game than I'm used to. I usually don't really like playing these because I think it's just a little bit boring, honestly, to play super closed positions. But yeah, if they choose to close everything, then they just close everything and there's not really much you can do. And I will just slowly outplay them in the long run. Okay, and we are achieving this now. We can push this. The knight is protecting. If he takes, he doesn't know what he's doing. Okay, but he does go back. And now we still have to try to play f4. But I think it's going to be interesting to get an extra piece in there. And then maybe to also get this piece. Okay, so he's going to castle on the queen side. All right. That does change the plans a little bit, because I can still go for this. I think I can still just play this. But if he castles on the queen side, it's probably better to immediately start attacking over there and not really waste any time with more passive moves. So I'll switch my strategy a little bit and attack on the queen side. But still, there are no checks, no captures, no threats, nothing really going on, honestly. So it's just fine. I think this might still be a plan, opening up everything. But the thing is, if I open up everything near my own king, yeah, that's not so great if he has castled on that side of the board. So I think we are just going to now attack him on the queen side. But still, of course, a big part of this game is going to be the O. CCTO, O for optimization. So optimization is very important, and it is also the skill that you can train the most. He is doing some exchanges. I think that is fine, honestly, because the more we exchange, the easier this position is going to get. And since we are the ones with a little bit of a more awkward king placement, I don't mind trading some pieces. And also activating this. Okay, he moves that rook. So I think I'm going to activate this knight anyways. We can also, of course, always play the b4 and attack on the queen side. But up to now, I have to say my opponent is playing a pretty decent game. It's going to be a long maneuvering game, but this pawn is pinned because we developed that bishop there. I think this knight is honestly doing nothing as well. Rooks are connected. That's, by the way, why I moved this. I wanted the rooks connected. Okay. I can give him a knight. And this is also, of course, the CCT, checks, captures, threats. That's a capture, and I think we just have a second capture, winning a piece. So my opponent blundered, but that is what always happens. Honestly, 1500 rating, you can reach this just by following CCTO, and your opponents will give you 3 pieces, and then you win the game. That's how it usually goes. Very anticlimactic, I know, it's always exciting, and then they give a piece, but this is honestly what happens a lot of the times up to 1500 rating. Even I personally play 2000 plus, the games are still like this. You just keep optimizing and somebody misses something at some point and then you lose. And if nobody misses anything, then it's a draw, which is okay as well. So CCTO, checks, captures, threats. I didn't have checks, but I did have captures, so those are the most important moves. And now we just have an extra piece, but of course we still have to worry a little bit about king safety, I think. And also this pawn might be nasty at some point. If he can push it 3 more times, he gets a queen. So we don't want that to happen. But we are in a good position. That's a check. This might hang in the future if he ever moves. This might also hang in the future. So I'm not really too worried right now. Not really too worried. He is attacking this. Let me think for a moment. So I can grab an extra pawn and attack the rook, but I lose this. And I think this is an important one to keep an eye on. Okay. I can give a check, but he just hides in the corner. and there's not really any way to protect this. And if I push, we get into some massive exchange. But I think pushing actually makes sense. I can also grab the free pawn. But I personally think pushing makes sense, because if he takes, we take this, and then we get an attack on the rook. And also, even if he wins this pawn at some point, he is pinning his own queen to the king. So it looks like this is a potential plan. I might take here, and I still have this pawn in the future. But I don't need to go pawn grabbing right now. I think I mainly just need to make sure that I don't get checkmated. That's my biggest concern. Yeah. We can take this, but honestly, there is no need. There's no need to take it. I think I'll do this. It's just a free attack on the rook. And we might have a check. So I am always doing that CCTO, by the way, even though if I don't mention it, I'm always doing the CCTO, at least in my head. I already calculated this check, but it's just a bit of an empty check. And it's also important that we don't play empty moves. It's not because you can do a trade that you should do a trade. It's not because you can do a check that you should do it. That's not how I like to play chess. But our bishop is under attack, so we might have to move it. Or I am going to protect it. I think protecting it makes sense. And we might always be losing a pawn, by the way, but at this point I don't really care about losing pawns. I am mostly looking for trades now, because the moment that you are up material, all you really want is to trade. I think as soon as you are up 2 pawns, you basically just want to trade everything. That's okay. I understand what he is trying to play for. I understand his plan. I think I'll take this. I just want to open up something. Something has to open up. Something has to happen. Because if nothing happens, then it's going to be difficult to pull a win from this game. I could potentially take here, I think. And then if he takes my rook, I have an in-between check. And I think this works. All right, we have this in between check. Yeah, and then we have, oh, I was thinking we have this check, but that actually doesn't work. So I probably have to take this rook first. He can take that with his queen if he wants to, but it doesn't matter. Even if he takes it, because I would be taking that rook. That was my calculation. So I think we'll just take this. It's just going to be a massive exchange, but I don't care, because as I just said, we want exchanges. And now this should be a checkmate and 3 moves, if I calculated that correctly. Oh no, it might not be a checkmate, because he has the queen defending. It might not be a checkmate. I thought this would be some type of checkmate, but okay, he resigns. We are winning. We are winning this game anyways. Plus, we can also just play this move and win the bishop. So that's it. Use CCTO and win more games.